Sunday afternoon. But I literally just texted him asking like, still talking today.
But yeah, Mama don't have food.
It is okay. It's fine. It's fine. Good evening. I just unmuted you. You ready? We are
Yep.
live. We're live, and I think people need to understand that this is the environment. Even if you watch your primary shows, they are not always ready at the time that they go live, but we are ready. We are here, and this is Dr. Deborah Jenkins, your host for Black Talk Platform, and we are here tonight, this evening, ahead of the Eastern snowstorm that is working its way up I-95 to New York City, and so we are all inside and some are eagerly awaiting it. Others are not because they have to be out in it tomorrow. But we're happy for those of you who are coming in the room this evening. I have with me my guest tonight, my friend Tony Lindsay, who, for this show at least, for this show, if not for any other show, he is our resident stock market expert, and we rely on him. He's our go-to for his knowledge, because we are not giving out buying and selling advice, but we are discussing the stock market, how you invest. We're speaking specifically about what happened last week. What happened last week was something that we have not seen. We, the people, rose up against the machine called the elites on the stock market, the hedge fund managers and companies, and many were able to have many financial gains. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But we're going to talk about basic financial literacy. As a people, we have not often been considered great money managers, and that's a fallacy. What we haven't always done is reach out to those who are in our community and have managed their money well and have invested and have replicated and have become wealthy. And so we are trying to encourage our community to reach out to those who are doing it, who are establishing themselves as experts in financial management and the things we just we didn't necessarily learn growing up. I believe if we are to break generational curses, we are to start somewhere. And I place my bets with other Blacks who are showing that it is possible for us to have positive financial gains just as other communities do. And so Tony and I are going to be talking this evening about financial literacy. We're not going to speak language that you don't understand. However, in the chat, we welcome you. You are a very active community and we appreciate you. We welcome you to put any questions in the chat that we may bring up that you don't understand, so we can break it down to you. We may use terms that you might not readily know, and that's just fine. Just let us know what those terms are so that we can bring clarity to it. And then we're going to talk about the real estate market, how the moratorium on paying your rent has affected business owners who are landlords. They're not all big, the Helmsleys and the others of the world. Some are our friends, our family members who are our landlords. How has the rent moratorium, at least in New York, but also throughout the country, affected those owners who are being a part of the positive community, because they are also allowing their tenants to remain there without even the expectation of payment until May of this year? How does that affect them? And how should we, as a concerned community, care about them as we care about ourselves? So we're going to get into all of that. And if we have a little time, we'll also have Tony explain to us what are some of the first steps to becoming a real estate investor, becoming a landlord. What are the pros and cons, those types of things. And if not, we'll just have to do a part 3. But we won't keep you all night. And with that being said, we welcome you. Hi, friends. So, you know, His name is not Franco, but that's what he has up there. So we are happy to have you here with us, Francis. Do you believe in options trading? What is your take on option trading? He will definitely talk about that, right, Tony?
Yep.
Francis, I know who you is. I just didn't, blah blah blah. Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. So we will get into talking about options, and thank you for throwing that in, because that is something that he's going to touch on for us tonight. I'm also going to turn it over to Tony right now, so we can just start the conversation. But Tony, I would like to ask you if you have this live open on your Facebook. Can you drop your Webull, and you can explain that? Drop your Webull link so that others might have that option. Welcome, Tony. Let's go. We tried to tease it up yesterday. There was so much going on. Where do you want to start? There's so much to talk about.
Whew. Yeah, there is so much to talk about. I don't even really know where to begin. Do we start with the stock market? Well, I guess maybe we can start with the stock market. Because I've been getting a lot of questions about that. And as you know, we have a real estate. Not a real estate, but we have a stock market group. See, I create separate groups for people who are interested in investing in wealth building. So I created a stock market group that we and Dr. Deborah, I think you're also a member of that group.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to give you guys the name of it so you can join it if you have any specific questions that you have about trading and investing in the stock market. It's a very supportive group. There's no trolling or anything like that now, going on in there. And there's no such thing as a dumb question. So the name of the group is Stock Market Trading Network and Support.
I'm good. So if I'm not looking directly at Tony, it's because I'm typing in the chat something that we want to share with you all. So please forgive me in advance. Could you repeat that again, please? Tony, stock market trading.
Yeah. Okay. I think you muted me by accident.
Ooh.
No, it's okay.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
I unmuted myself. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay, right. So the name of the group is the Stock Market Trading Network and Support Group. That's Stock Market Trading Network and Support Group. And, we've been growing at a rapid pace as of late, especially since this whole Reddit run that we've seen going on with the whole GameStop thing and Robinhood. So, any questions or any assistance that you may need, you can find me in there. And a whole slew of other people who are also invested in the stock market and quite helpful with information. The group is for beginners, it's for experts, it's for everybody. Okay. So, absolutely. Right. So
do you think we could start with what happened last week and why Robinhood is even a question?
Right. Well, what happened last week was there was a very big hedge fund that they shorted a stock. See, the funny thing here is we're going to be speaking in a lot of terms that might be foreign to some of the people listening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to break it down in the simplest of terms. So people in the stock market, there are several mechanisms of making money. One way that you can make money is by you buy shares in a company, and when the value goes up, you make money, right? But that's what you do when you're just doing simple trading of stocks. But then there's another thing that you do, which is called options trading. Now, options are basically, as it says, it's an option to buy or sell a stock at a certain price. So without getting too detailed into it, I'm going to just put it in the simplest of terms. When you buy, there are two types of options. There's a call option and then there's a put option. A call option is when you basically, for lack of better terms, you place a bet on a stock that is going to go up to a certain stock price. If you're going to buy a put option, you're basically betting that the share price goes down. Okay. Now that's referred to as shorting a stock, when you make money as the stock goes down. And when you engage in options trading, you see a much higher return percentage wise of your investment than you do with regular stock investment. Now, there was a company, there's a hedge fund. Now, you know, hedge funds, these multi-billion-dollar hedge funds, they make a lot of money short selling stocks. And this is a practice that's been going on as long as, you know, anyone can remember as far as the stock market is concerned. Now, the problem with short selling is you have a lot of these very rich, entitled, privileged investors, companies, where they have a lot of control over the direction that the market moves. So let's look at it this way. A lot of these guys are the same ones that put out negative.
We are all inside. And sorry,
anyone?
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, they'll put out. Let's use GameStop for example. This is actually the perfect example. GameStop has had a lot of good news over the last several months that normally should drive the share price up of that company. You know, there's a lot of promising news. Now, we know GameStop is kind of outdated and becoming a little obsolete, so to speak. However, you know, there were certain mergers being done, and there was a lot of good news coming in for the stock. So as of, you know, what you expect is the price of the shares will go up. However, like right after the great news comes out and the stock price surges a little bit, you see it just tank out of nowhere, right? And this is a practice that has happened with GameStop, a lot of other companies, and that is because there's a lot of short interest in these companies. Basically, there are people out there who want to see the value of this company go down so that they can make a whole lot of money. And being that a lot of them are, you know, the analysts and the people that are putting out these negative hit pieces, quite often they influence the direction of the market. So even though you get a bunch of good news about GameStop, all of a sudden everything just kind of craters. So it came to, well, and actually this is public record, but it came to certain people's attention that one specific hedge fund called Melvin Capital had a very large short interest in GameStop. And we pretty much get what we mean by short interest. Their interest in that company is in shorting it. So they put a lot of money into betting that the stock price goes down. Now, usually when people do that, you know, when you see that there's a lot of people buying like put options, and when you see a lot of short behavior going on, it spooks people. And of course, they start dumping their shares and then the price goes down. And when that happens, these entities make a whole lot of money. So someone in the Reddit group, Wall Street Bets, he noticed it and actually found out that there was a naked short. A naked short is basically when you have such you bought more. Okay, how do I explain this? I'm trying to break it down to the simplest of terms. But when a naked short is when you are shorting a company so much that you're placing a bet on more shares that even exist.
Wow.
So that is the epitome of greed. So they had somewhere between a 125% to 140% short interest in that company. So that's just basically saying, oh, we're taking all the money, right? And they were even taking money that doesn't even exist yet. So that's like the epitome of greed. So, you know, some people saw it and they decided, wait a minute, this is ridiculous. You guys have been manipulating the market so much. So you know what? And this is largely millennials, people that you see playing video games. And you know how the culture is right now with these kids. They love GameStop. So they were like, you know what? We're not going to let this happen. We're going to buy these stocks and then we're going to hold it and we're going to prevent the share price from going down. That's what's called a short squeeze. You're squeezing these people. It's like you're squeezing that short interest. So remember, now, as you're driving the price up, what's happening to all of those people with short positions? They're losing more and more money. Now, here's one of the dangers about shorting a stock. Now, typically when you do options trading, what happens is whatever amount of money you put in, you can lose 100% of that money. Now, we get that. But when you short a stock, the potential for your losses is infinite. As long as the value continues to rise, you continue to lose money. And then when you get to the negatives, now you have to come up with more money to cover all of those stocks that you borrowed in order to sell it back at another price.
Let me pause you right there, Tony, because that was a mouthful, but I just learned I just gained some clarity. So I just want to ask if everybody is with us. Are you all following what Tony just said? Because personally, I've been asking Tony, tell me, what is this thing about a put? He's always talking in our groups about a put. I'm not that person. I don't know that kind of stuff, but he just explained it so well for me when Francis opened up asking, what is your opinion about options trading and what is an option? For me, the question is, what is options trading? But he just explained that, and I put it in the chat, but I think the chat is only going to YouTube. But let me make sure I got it right, Tony. You said there are two types of options. There's a call option. Yeah. That is when you place a bet that a stock is going to rise in share price. Is that correct?
Yes, pretty much, so to speak, yes.
Okay, and then a put option. Now, please, this is the part that I've been having problems with. Let's make sure I got it right. It's when you place a bet that the share price is going to go down.
Yes, but let me clean the language up a little bit.
Okay.
Options are basically an option for you to be able to buy or sell a stock at a certain price. Okay.
So put it in there like that.
Right. It's basically an option that you're buying. Like you're buying. So it's an agreement. They are agreements. So you're basically able to control 100 stocks. Every option contract it represents 100 shares. Okay. So you basically get the right to control 100 shares of a stock. So then when you have someone that, they'll say, okay, I want to buy 10 options, you now control 1,000 shares of stocks and the profit or losses of those stocks. So that's why a lot of people like to trade in options, because it requires less money to invest while you can still lose all of your money, but you can get in a lot of gains. So if there's a stock that's trading at $10 and you want to buy, let's just keep it simple. It's trading at $1 and you want to buy 100 shares. So you bought 100 shares. So now your portfolio, that stock portfolio, is worth $100, right? Now, maybe the option for that stock is a penny. A penny. Now, if you bought, say, 10 of those options, if you bought 10 of those options, now you know that instead of 1 penny, well, let's say 100. You bought 100 options. That's $1 you spent. But you now have the ability to control how many shares. Remember, it's 100 times 100.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? So that's 10,000. So you now can control 10,000 shares.
Gotcha.
And you didn't put up anywhere near as much money as you did to buy the actual stock itself.
Okay.
So to trade in options, you're putting up a lot less money to make a lot more money. That's the easiest way to say it.
And it's very risky, though, in terms of loss.
It's risky. It's very risky.
Okay. So you have to have the appetite for that, guys. And Francis, I hope you do. I don't yet, because I'm just getting it right now. So I have to watch it a little longer.
And also, so now don't put in more money than you're willing to lose.
I keep hearing that across so many different stock market shows. Don't put in any more money than you are willing to lose. In other words, do not put your house, your rent. Do not put your car note. Do not put your insurance. and your utilities. None of the essentials for living should you be using to invest in. And while I feel that I don't need to be that specific, sometimes we do, because in this Wall Street Bets group that
Mhm.
Tony has alluded to, mentioned in Reddit, people have actually done that. People have zeroed out their 50 what is it, 401ks.
Okay, yeah.
People have put their rent, their mortgage behind these stocks. But then when the hedge funds got a whiff of what the retail investors like you and I were doing, and saying that they were not going to allow them to manipulate the market any longer, like Tony was just explaining, then that's when they flipped the script on those of us who, and I was not one of the us, but I consider myself an us because we are the little man versus Goliath, right?
Right.
They're the rich ones, they are the wealthy controllers of the stock market. And when they understood that the Reddit group was helping the GameStop and AMC,
AMC, a whole bunch of other stocks. Yeah.
a few others, become stable and rise in their share prices, they've sort of put the kibosh on it. And so that is where we start to talk about Robinhood. Many of us here invest through Robinhood. I know I do. I also invest through E-Trade, and there are others that Tony might mention to you all. But Robinhood has become the focus of the discussion. You want to talk about that so that everybody here may not understand the Robinhood connection, Tony.
Right. Well, it's actually quite simple. The hedge fund that wound up losing a whole bunch of money behind the Reddit movement, they were bailed out. They went and borrowed money from a company called Citadel Securities. Citadel loaned them $2.75 billion to bail them out because they obviously could not cover all of the losses, meaning Melvin Capital, the original hedge fund we're talking about. So they couldn't come up with the money to cover it. So they borrowed money from Citadel. Citadel, right after they loaned them that money, the Reddit group, they pumped the price of the stock even higher. They squeezed even more. So all of that money that was infused into Melvin Capital disappeared instantly. Okay. So now Melvin is in trouble. Citadel is out $2.75 billion. But Citadel has a very prominent interest in Robinhood. Citadel, they order the majority of the order, like the order flow of Robinhood. Robinhood is basically a middleman, honestly. They're basically taking our information and they're selling it to somebody else. Citadel is one of those people that purchases their order flow. So Citadel is responsible for a large portion of Robinhood's revenue. So, I mean, it's speculated that a call was made from the CEO at Citadel to Vlad, the owner of the founder of Robinhood, and was like, listen, we're out of money. We're losing money. And we're not going to be giving you X amount of money while we're losing this money. Something needs to be done about this. And what happened after that alleged phone call? Robinhood stopped all of their users' ability to buy the GameStop, to buy AMC, and the specific stocks that were the cause of discussion and the impetus for this movement.
Yeah.
So, but what people have to understand is when Robinhood decided to restrict people's ability to buy the stocks, they forced the stock price, the share price to crater. Right. And when you force it to crater, all of those guys that had the short interest, all of those billionaires who were betting for the price to go down, what do you think happened? They made money on the way down. Money. Right. And the founder is Vlad Demov. I can't remember his full name, but he did an interview on CNN, and he was really getting pressed hard by Chris Cuomo.
By Chris Cuomo, yeah.
I give Chris Cuomo
He
some
pushed.
kudos for that. I'm not really a big fan of his, but hey.
But he pushed the question.
Yeah, he really pushed the question. But if you listen to the line of questioning and you listen to the answer, Chris basically said Citadel owns a piece of you, and and they specifically have a short interest. It was alleged that they basically doubled down on their shorts of that stock, which means, now remember, this is what makes it very suspicious. The stock price of GameStop that day hit like $300 and something. It went from like 100 and change to like 3 something. Now, the orders were stopped at the ceiling. When I say the ceiling, that's basically like the top price of the stock for the day. So they stopped all of your ability to buy when it hit the ceiling. Why is that a problem? It's a problem because that just created the widest spread between the floor, the bottom price, and the top price. So that's the biggest area where you can make a whole lot of money going down. So think about it. If you bought a put option at the top, you have a longer line of profit going all the way down. So they made a whole lot of money on the way back down. Now, why did the price go down? Because they stopped everyone from buying. You would think that stopping people from selling would do that. No, right. A short squeeze is based upon people buying stocks. The more they buy the stocks is the more the stock price goes up. So when you take away people's ability to buy these stocks, and remember, one of the main goals of this movement, it was buy the stock and hold it.
Hold it.
Why are you holding it? Because you're not going to allow these short sellers to get into these contracts, right? So you're leaving them stuck. Like you're leaving the price where it is, and it can only go higher from there. So what happens? The guys who were shorting it, right? They actually have to buy the stocks, because I don't know if I mentioned this. When you short a stock, what you're doing is you're borrowing stock from someone who has that, right? You're borrowing someone else's stock and you're selling it at a certain price. And you're hoping for the price of that stock to go down. Why? Because let's say I sold it to you for $10,000, but the price of the stock goes down to $5,000. And now I have to give those stocks back to the person I borrowed it from. It's only going to cost me $5,000 to buy those stocks. So I'll buy it back with the little $5,000. I'll give it to the person I borrowed from, give him back his shares. And now I just made $5,000, because remember, I sold it to you for $10,000.
Okay.
You get that?
Okay. So, I wanted to ask you.
I borrowed your gold chain. And I borrowed your gold chain for, a little premium or whatever I decide with you. I take your chain and I sell it to your sister. Well, yeah, let's just say your sister. I sell it to your sister for $10,000. And then the price of the valuation of that chain goes down to $5,000. But I still got to give you back your chain.
Right. Because you just borrowed
the jewelry store and buy that identical chain for $5,000, and I'm going to give you back your chain. I just made $5,000 off of your chain.
Because you sold it to my sister
because
for 10.
I sold it to someone else for $10,000. I just shorted that chain.
Okay. So now, someone, and this is not an aside, but it's really going to be up to you if you want to go through that scenario. Someone had put in a group, in Tony's stock market group, everyone, because a lot of us are just a little disillusioned, and I think that's being nice, with Robinhood. And so someone had asked the question, can I transfer my positions out of Robinhood into another platform or something? And so one person in the group really explained further this whole short selling that the is that right? Short selling or short trading that the hedge funds do?
Selling, yeah.
Okay. So that person recommended that this woman hold, you know, because AMC is many of you, if you were on yesterday, you know that's one of my favorite stocks. Hold on to AMC because the shorts have these day incremental
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
can you talk about that, Tony?
Right. Well, margin calls are coming up. So basically, like they're the people who loaned those stocks out, trying to give it back. Give it back now. You know, they reserve the right, actually. See, what happens is, oh man, this is going to get really into it. Okay. As the price continues to go up, the requirement of the person who borrowed the stock, it changes, because now they have to come up with more money to cover what they just did. You understand? Because as the price is going up, the price of your chain is going up.
Instead of depreciating, it's getting more valuable.
Right?
It's appreciating. Okay.
And it's like you're not very sure that person is going to be able to give it back to you. So you just want your chain back. Like, just give me back my chain, please.
Okay.
So in order for me to give you back your chain, I'm gonna have to buy it now. Even though I sold it for $10,000, which is the value at which I took it at, it's worth $20,000 right now. Oh my God. Deborah wants her chain back. Now I have to either buy that identical chain for $20,000 and give it back to you and lose $10,000, or I'm gonna have to come up with, let's say, 5, 10, or whatever amount of money to just let you hold it as insurance. No, don't worry, just hold this in the meantime, because I believe that the value is going to go back down. So I'm just going to have to double down and provide a little bit more insurance for that chain that I borrowed from you.
So instead of getting up from the blackjack table, you're getting in deeper.
Yeah, you're getting in deeper, right? Now, hey, what happens if the value of your chain, it tanks? You're good. You're good now, right? You're good again.
The person who borrowed.
Right.
They're good. Mm-hmm.
But what happens if it shoots up to $30,000? You understand? I'm steady losing money. Now I'm going to have to pay you $20,000. What if it goes up to $50,000? Now that $10,000 chain that I got from you, I got to pay you back $40,000. And if it goes to $100,000, so that's what's happening with GameStop and AMC. So that should explain to you a little bit the infinite nature of loss that you can experience, because as long as the price goes up, your obligation to come up with more money increases. So you're going to have to just get out while you can. So the thing with the short squeeze is Monday morning, technically it was Friday, but Monday morning, all debts must be settled. So that means a lot of these guys were shorting AMC at like $3, $2.80. I think that was the average, like $2.89.
Wow.
So it was trading at $13 on Friday.
On Friday, it closed at 13. Right.
So you got to cover this now on Monday. So what is going to happen? See, this is the nature of the short squeeze. It triggers surges because they can't wait anymore. They gotta buy it now. Now they have to buy these stocks to give it back to who they borrowed it from.
Gotcha.
And what happens when they flood the market buying all these stocks to give it back? It triggers a surge. You understand?
So can you pause? I hope you all understand that the people who have to pay back the borrower, they're not the good guys in this scenario that we're speaking about.
Oh, right. Because it sounds like we have pity for them. I don't.
No pity. No pity.
They've made billions of dollars doing this exact same thing in the opposite. So basically, Monday, I personally, I don't see how AMC can't skyrocket Monday morning, because
so hold your AMC, Neff. I know Neff is here. She was here yesterday, and she was ready to sell.
Look, can't tell you what to do.
Okay, he's right. We're not supposed to tell you. We are not financial stock brokers or anything like that. But just in the scenario that has been presented, Tony, again, say AMC closed on Friday at 13.
Yeah, they
And
closed at
there
like
was
13.40 or something like that.
and there was shorts as low
And this
as
short interest, the average short interest is like $2.89. They have to cover it. You know, technically it was up on Friday, but I guess it's like by 8:05 or something Monday morning where they have to take care of it. So, I mean, I'm expecting to see a huge surge because you already have the Reddit movement where everybody's like, hold, buy, hold.
right,
And now who's going to have to also now join in on buying? The same people who were shorting the stock in the first place.
right.
They have to now pay, they have to now also buy, which is going to like double the surge. You get what I'm
Right.
saying? So I don't
Yeah.
know. I feel like AMC might hit $50 this week
Well,
because yeah,
I'm here
because
for it.
yeah,
I'm here because that's
yeah,
my
because that's not the only expiration date. Friday. There's another one on Tuesday and another one on Wednesday and Thursday, I think. So
yeah.
there a lot of the bill is due for a lot of these short sellers.
That sounds a little bit like Martin Luther King.
Hey,
He said, "America, we coming."
hey.
The
Mhm.
bill is due. And so listen, everybody, I got to put my little social justice hat on, but that's all we've been talking. These are the little people. This goes and transcends political affiliation. Okay.
Yes, it
And,
does.
and to be sure, a whole lot of things should, because if we really see ourselves as the haves and the have nots, that's really the game that's being played here. The haves have said, oh no, I don't care how much money you may have, or they were allowing us to buy stocks over the weekend and after hours, and then they put a limit on it. And Tony just put in the group a few hours ago that now Robinhood is saying that they're not going to do direct deposits in less than 4 to 5 days. That essentially, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, that essentially says you can really buy only once a week, pretty much once a week, and so
Yeah.
much is going to transpire in a week's time, you
Right.
know.
I mean, the average Robinhood user, they make multiple deposits into their account during the week. So, you know, to basically restrict you to only getting access to those funds maybe once a week, if you know, I mean, you would have to probably raise your deposit to cover like the whole week, so you don't have to keep doing it. But you know, it happens as you're trading. You're like, oh my God, you know what? I just saw this dip. I saw this stock go way down, it's tanking, and I know it's gonna go back up. So you know what? I want to pull out like $400 and I want to put it into my Robinhood. You
Mhm.
can't do that right now because it's gonna take you a while. But then again, I'm not sure. Let me say I'm not sure because you have two different types of Robinhood accounts. You have the the regular basic account, and then you have the gold account. And I think you're already restricted to a $1,000 deposit per day with the basic account. However, I had a friend that she tried to what they do is they give you an instant deposit feature where you have immediate access to the funds before it transfer the completion of the debit or the ACH
Your bank.
transfer from your bank account. But now it's definitely restricted when it comes to cryptocurrencies though.
Yes.
Like, yeah, you have to have the cash in your account settled before you even buy Bitcoin or Dogecoin or anything like that. You can no longer use your margin to trade the cryptocurrencies. But just the fact that they've extended now the transfer time of your funds into your account, I think you'll get access to it in like 2 business days now, as opposed to immediately. So it slows down the process. And what's kind of a little extra suspicious to me again is look when they did this just before the bill is due.
Yeah.
So
I hadn't even thought about that. I
right.
had not even thought about that.
So for a lot of Robinhood users that are trying to put some money into their accounts so they can have enough to really buy a significant amount of AMC and other stocks, they're no longer able to do that if they try to do the transfer on Friday.
Wow. Hadn't even
So
thought about it.
yeah, so a lot of people are left out of the process. They're not going to be able to buy AMC stock tomorrow if they're only using Robinhood.
Right. So, this is a lot for everyone to process. I did see your question, Flo. We cannot tell you what to buy, but we're friends, and so I will speak to you outside of this live and tell you some of the positions I hold. I told you all yesterday that I would share with Tony what my favorite stock is because I'm somewhat of an emotional investor. I
Mhm.
made a light of myself yesterday, but this is just this is my strategy for investing. However, I do appreciate friends like Tony who will say, you know what, maybe you've held it long enough. Maybe you want to consider selling it. I appreciate that because we need to hear beyond our own strategy for investing, if that makes sense to everyone. I'm an emotional investor. I think long term, and my son and I, we sit around and we invest like throughout the day. Um, but he's more liberal while I'm more conservative. He might just dump a lot in a share in a company, while I might say, yeah, I might, but I will hold it longer than he will. We have two different strategies. My favorite stock, everyone, is Ford. And here's my philosophy behind Ford. My philosophy behind Ford is that this nation likes symbols. Ford, even though they have joke and they've always had that joke about found on the road dead, that kind of thing. Well, growing up, my mother only owned Fords. She only owned Fords. Ford didn't need the same amount of infusion as GM did with the bailout in 2008. But chiefly, Ford is the first major auto manufacturer in this country. I don't care how many hands it changes. This nation will not allow Ford to go under. And that is why I invest in Ford. Now, they are revving up their electric car
Electric
line,
vehicle. Uh-huh.
right? Electric vehicle. And so what did President Biden do? Probably Tuesday or sometime this past week,
Commit
he said that the federal government is going all electric vehicle by 2034 or something like
2035, yeah.
2035. That doesn't mean they're getting rid of their cars. That means that means a combination of things, that they're going to re-outfit the ones they currently have, and then they will be adding to the fleet some brand new electric cars. Same thing, GM. I invested in them for the same reason. And so that's why Ford is my big share of stocks, but it's for that reason. So Tony, with me sharing with you why I invest in Ford when it's not necessarily the leading car dealership, automaker rather. What would you say? What would you say about Ford, or what do you think about Ford?
Well, I mean, not that I'm giving any stock
Yeah.
directions on what to do, but I think, Ford, I understand your reasoning. Ford was one of the go-tos, in the bailout. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's an American company.
Mm-hmm.
So, the whole you still there still is, the protection of the American manufacturer,
Yeah.
So I think that's one positive element. Also, when it comes to Ford, they have a long staying power in this country. Also, it's a low volatility stock.
Mm-hmm.
Now, being that it's a low volatility stock, it's a lot less likely that you're going to see some type of massive losses. And basically over time, you will see steady increases. So the way that you invest, you're an investor.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a trader. You're an investor,
Mm-hmm.
which is okay. You don't take as much risk as your son does,
No.
but right. So you'll put your money in, and you'll likely see significant growth over time.
And I'm real comfortable with that.
And you're okay
I
with it, right?
Yeah, and I feel like, I mean, there's certainly people in my age group who have the same type of approach that he has, but it's just not me. I'm a more conservative investor than he is, and I think that's perfectly fine. I'll let you know, he did get out of Doge today. He did.
Yeah,
He
because it
got out of
surged
it
again.
today. Hmm.
It went
It
back
did.
up, surged
Yeah,
again.
yeah. I don't know where it is now, but he did get out of it. I was like, well, I'm still there. Again, that's my whole strategy for investing. So now, what can we tell the people who are just beginning? We do have people watching who are just beginning to invest in the stock market, even with what all happened last week. What without telling people which stocks to invest in or cryptos to invest in, what would you say the top 3 things they need to do, Tony?
Well, the number one thing they need to do is do their research.
Do your
Everyone is
research.
very excited right now by, it's like top news story for like the past week and a half. So, everyone is just seeing, ooh, money, people are making money. And our attraction to quick money is it betrays us. So we have to be careful in the way that we approach investing, especially as new investors. Come on, a lot of it, we don't know what we're doing. So there's nothing wrong with doing your research. Ask questions, join groups like the one, like our stock market group, where you can ask all of the tough questions and you'll get some form of an answer. So that's like the top number one thing that you can do. Also, as I said earlier, never put up more money. Don't put in more money than you're prepared to lose. So I always suggest that people use disposable income. You got to use disposable income when it comes to investing in the stock market, at least in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot safer, and actually the potential of you winning is much greater. So that's another thing you can do. And lastly, I would probably say that there are a few trading platforms like TD Ameritrade.
Mm-hmm.
They have a platform called Thinkorswim, and there's there's another one. I mean, there's a few of them, but I think, you know what? I think Webull allows you to do it as well, where you can do what's called paper trading.
Paper trading.
Yeah, they let you basically do a practice run. So you can like learn how to trade like by the actual application of it. They'll give you like 100,000, no, like 10,000 or $100,000 in fake money, and they'll let you, you're watching the real stock market, you're looking at everything, and you're placing your trades as it goes along, and it gives you a realistic, a real-time analytic of what you would be doing in the stock market had you been using your own money.
Wow, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. So it's a perfect it's a trial and error thing where you're actually not losing anything. And once you get comfortable enough, then you can maybe put a couple of dollars in there and invest, but on a smaller scale.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, I like that. I like that. Tony, can you you know what? YouTube, I'm gonna have to come back later and put the link if you would like to open a Webull account. Listen, around here, if I have a guest that has a resource, I may have the same resource, but I'm going to pass it off to my guest. And that is what I'm doing with Tony. I did it the last time, at least I said I would. I don't know if the link made it into the comments, but Tony has a direct link if you'd like to open a Webull account today or tomorrow, because they are offering up to 4 shares, free shares, if you open a Webull account today or tomorrow. Am I right? It ends tomorrow, Tony?
They always have like some type of special or something going on. So yeah, I mean, but they pretty much always give you free stocks for signing up for Webull.
Okay.
However, it should be noted that a lot of these trading platforms, they've been tightening up on their on their restrictions and the qualifications in order to even be approved for these accounts now. Everyone has gotten spooked by
Wow. It's
Wall
unfortunate.
Street bets. Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Yes, Juanita, that is like the stock market game that we used to do with the young kids. My sister was saying that the paper trading is like when we years ago we used to run the stock market game with New York Newsday
Right.
for our after schoolers so they can learn how to invest, and they did very well citywide. So yes, it seems like that. Um, so listen, we will drop the Webull link in there. You go and check it out if you want to open an account. I'm still sticking with Robinhood, not out of any sense of obligation. It's just that right now, like Tony just said, the other platforms are also becoming a little tighter with their regulations and everything. So I figure I'll just stay right here with what I have, but it won't stop me from exploring Webull or one of the others. I also have an account with E-Trade. So that's another one that's never been an issue for me. So you have TD Ameritrade, Webull. Did you say Think or Swim? That's the name of it?
Yeah, it's a
Oh, you
platform
put
that's
it. Thank
attached
you.
to TD Ameritrade. You have E-Trade, you have Fidelity,
Fidelity.
interactive brokers. There
Okay.
are a lot of them. And I'm not going to necessarily tell people to just stop using Robinhood. Well, yeah, I'm not going to tell you to stop using Robinhood. But I would say at least join another trading platform.
Yeah.
That's
Just
what I
one,
would
at
say.
least one more. Okay. Tony did drop it in there, YouTube and Facebook, so you both have access to it. Tony, thank you so much for talking to us about the stock market and what happened last week. And it should be interesting tomorrow. Neff is asking, Tony, are you familiar with Stockpile?
Am I familiar? Stockpile. No.
Okay.
Is that a
What about, is there a specific question you have about it? Is that a platform also,
is
Neff?
that one of the platforms?
Let us know, Neff, and we'll try to get you an answer if that's a platform or not. Okay. All right. So awesome. Listen, my biggest suggestion is, since we cannot do a show on the stock market and investing every week, is to go and if you're on Facebook or even if you're in YouTube, go to find this Facebook group. She said it's like Robinhood. Go and find Tony's Facebook group. I put it in the chat. It is called, I don't want to just tell you the wrong thing, because I know sometimes searching is difficult. He's back. Well, where did I
Oh
put it?
God, don't tell me I got cut off.
You did, but no, you're back. You're back. Tony, we see you.
Hello, am I there? Can you hear
are.
me?
We can
Okay,
hear you.
I lost signal for a second.
We got you. We see you.
Okay. Sorry.
His group is called Stock Market Trading Network and Support Group. Okay, it's a public group, and there's really good information that comes out of there every single day. They are constantly posting, and they post really good advice. It's not considered advice, it's just sharing. How's that? It's sharing. And so you have to be willing to do your research. So even if you see something in the group, go and research it, go and verify, go and confirm what you're seeing, so that you are confident in what you're investing in, the decisions you make. Tony, thank you so much for that. I'm pretty sure they will want you to come back at some point, but I appreciate that part. So can we just sort of shift now to talking about, let's leave the overall financial literacy until the end of the show, but let's talk about you as a landlord. You're a real estate investor. Talk to us a little bit about what you're facing, or have been facing since the moratorium on the rent here in New York.
Okay, I can definitely speak to that, but let me just double check. Is my connection solid? Because I can probably try to switch Wi-Fi, because you seem to be freezing sometimes, but I don't know if it's freezing on my end.
I think it was freezing on your end, but someone here watching us, tell us who's freezing, because I did see Tony freeze up a little bit, but we didn't lose any audio when your screen froze. If you're having difficulty hearing either one of us or seeing us, please let us know in the chat so we can fix that.
Okay. All right. So, well, I'm here now. So, okay. So, as far as what we're seeing in New York, like with the rent moratorium, good connection, both were freezing. Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So like the politicians in New York, they're pretty much like putting all of these protections in place, you know, for tenants. And that's fine. But, you know, you're safeguarding all of these tenants in the midst of these lockdowns and the restrictions, you know, giving them like multiple like protections against eviction and even paying rent, while you're ignoring the collateral damage that is going to bring to landlords' income. Because remember, landlords still have bills as well. So they just added the extended moratorium while they're providing absolutely no mechanism of relief for the landlords who still have to pay the upkeep and the maintenance to these properties, these houses, the private houses and the buildings, you know, while they're receiving absolutely zero rent. Are you still there? It looks like you froze. Yes, you did freeze. Or am I the one who's frozen? Okay, it's me freezing. Okay, so it's me freezing then.
It was both of us. We were both gone.
Okay.
Both gone. So
I don't even know how much everyone heard. But,
what I last heard was you were just getting into it. Oh, I froze. Tony's freezing. We're both free. Okay, so we're both back now. I believe it may be.
So is it our connection to each other, maybe?
I'm not sure. What are you saying, Francis? Know your hood, Tony.
Well, they're saying I'm good.
You're good.
But both of us are freezing.
Yeah. And you know, my son said it could be the storm. I don't know if it's here in New York yet, but it certainly could be that.
Yeah, it started snowing here already.
Oh, it did?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, hey, look, we're live right now. We're good.
Right now. Keep going. Keep going.
Okay. All right. So yeah, basically what I was saying, that, you know, they put all these protections in place for all of the tenants, but they're not considering the landlords who still have all of these financial responsibilities to these properties where people are still living in, right? And I wanted to read something to you just to give you a little idea of what's really going on. Like, there was a survey done by the Community Housing Improvement Program, and it found that landlords' operating income was down more than 21% from last year, while their expenses were up 10.7%. So let me give you a real example of that, just to help people to better understand that. So if your landlord makes $100,000 a year in their property, now we know that, I mean, $100,000 a year might sound nice, but if you live in New York City, you know that that's really not that much. But remember, your landlord still has, let's say it could be mortgage, it's utilities, insurance, maintenance, the whole, you know, miscellaneous. There are a lot of costs that go with being a landlord. So let's just say out of that, $50K of that covers the bills. So we'll say that the landlord is making, let's say, take home of $50,000 a year. So that's kind of like is that like an average income now? Like, what's considered an average income in New York City?
Put it in the chat for us. I don't know.
All right. Well, let's say that landlord is making $50,000. Now, that really is not much at all in New York City. It's a very expensive place to live, but they're making $50,000. Now, let's factor in what just happened with the eviction moratorium that's been in place since March of last year to potentially August of this year.
Right.
If you take that same calculus of the income being down more than 21% and the expenses, the operating expenses up 10.7%. Now the landlord's not making $100,000 a year in the property; they're making $88,000 per year in the property. And whereas before we said that their the operating costs were about $50,000, it's about $56,000. So their income went down, but their liability went up. So when you factor all that in now, it leaves them with $32,000 a year. Now, that $32,000 a year is 64% of the income that they were barely getting previously. Now, I'm just speaking based upon the average. Remember, we're speaking in terms of the average, which includes the bigger landlords, the guys that have and the men and women that have the 50 family units, you know, the millionaires. But if you really look at the people who are so most severely impacted by this, those are the small landlords, the residential property owners, the people who live in their homes and they rent an apartment downstairs, or they might have a 2 or 3 family. They're renting a couple of apartments in order to, you know, maintain some type of an income. So these are the people. These people now, remember, when you're talking about averages, the people who make more money, they balance out the people who are making less money. Who are the people making less money? The everyday homeowner, small time real estate investor. You don't even have to be an investor, just a homeowner, who in many cases are getting zero rent. See, not the rent just going down a little bit, because you have to factor in the people who are getting zero rent. That means they have zero income. And who are those people who have zero income? It's not the people who own the 40 and 50 family buildings and the rent stabilized buildings. It's people like us.
Sure. Let me ask you, did the HEROES Act, or has there been talk of any assistance for the landlords? Since there's, and look, I'm not saying that I'm not grateful and others aren't grateful for the moratorium, but has there been any assistance spoken of about landlords, landlords?
In fleeting terms, and
But
that's
nothing
the problem.
concrete. Nothing
No,
concrete.
not at all. Yeah, I mean, of course they're going to speak about it, but there's been no actual proposed legislation. Every time it is brought up, they brush it off, they dismiss it. Now, I'm not speaking against tenants, because people need a place to live and they need some form of relief in this time. But you cannot help one group of people at the expense of another group of people who are also suffering. And people are failing to see the setup, because when your landlord is unable to pay his bills, that's going to end up affecting you.
Right.
So it's going to affect your quality of life. He's not going to be able to exterminate when you got rats and bed bugs in there, whatever it is. He's not going to be able to take care of the heating problems. So sure, in New York City, they'll probably rack up a whole bunch of violations, which will only serve to sink that landlord into further debt. And what happens in the end? I mean, the tenant, let's be real. New York City is the scam capital when it comes to landlord tenant issues. It is so biased in favor of tenants that landlords, I don't even know how they survive in this city. And the thing is, you know, it's a system that encourages renters to not pay their rent, and it gives them every benefit and every accommodation to remain in people's properties without, you know, any possibility of being evicted in the short term. And that's not right, because even when these evictions finally get to come through, the landlord has already lost a year plus worth of income on average. They don't have to pay it back. They just have to leave. But what about that landlord who has that mortgage to pay? Do you think he can tell the mortgage company, well, hey, you know, they weren't paying, so I shouldn't have to pay that last 2 years of mortgage? That's not going to happen.
And that's why I wanted you to speak about that, Tony, because you needed to humanize for the rest of us the perspective of the landlord. And it's not always these big guys and girls that we hear about. We're talking about everyday people like you and I, who are being great landlords in many cases to our peers, you know, others who are looking for decent living, secure living for their families in nice neighborhoods, and that the landlord is actually doing what he or she is supposed to do. And that part is not really a part of the narrative that we are often speaking about or even hearing about.
And that is something that I did want to speak to as well, because as me, I'm a landlord. I've been a landlord for like 20 years, and I'm the coolest landlord that you will ever meet. I am considerate. I'm patient. You know, I'm empathetic. I work with my tenants. I always try to keep a very good, positive relationship with my tenants. It's like we're family. So, you know, we don't even look at the properties that they live in as I'm the landlord, they're the tenant. We look at it as a collective entity that we are all working together to maintain, right? Like we're all in this together. That's the approach that I take. So with the pandemic, you know, a lot of people lost their jobs, including some of my tenants. Do you think I'm really going to pressure them? No, I want my rent right now. No, you have to work with people. But then it also applies to the tenants. Why are so many tenants just flat out refusing to pay rent just because there's an eviction moratorium? Right. I mean, I had a tenant that when the pandemic first hit, like I'd say maybe 80% of my tenants lost their jobs. Wow. This guy had a city job. He actually worked for the NYPD, not a police officer, but he worked for the NYPD. He was secure in his employment. When I asked this guy for the rent, after him being extremely late, I'm like, hey, you know, brother, you know, what's going on? Can you know, when do you think you're going to have that? Oh, well, I heard that you can't evict people until August. Wait.
What?
How is that your response? So that speaks to your intention. I said nothing about eviction. I simply asked for the rent that I know you have because you still are getting paid. You see the difference? So that's the type of attitude that is created amongst renters in New York City when there's no real system of accountability for them when they don't handle their responsibilities. So now, as a property owner, I have to pay for you to live there. How is that right?
It's not.
And imagine the elderly people. And this is there's so many people who are left out of this conversation. There are so many people in New York City who are older people who they've had their properties for decades, 30, 40 years. And hey, some of them may not even have a mortgage on their properties. You have a lot of retirees who, you know, they're just trying to get by with their little pension or their Social Security, and they may rent an apartment in their home in order to supplement their income. What about them when their tenants are told, hey, she can't kick you out. You don't have to pay rent. And this is why I always caution Black people to be careful of jumping behind these quote unquote liberal / progressive movements, because while they sound good at its face value, they often leave the most marginalized people left out in the end. And we get stuck holding the bag, because all of this action that we're seeing is only going to end up bad specifically for Black and brown people. Why? Because we're going to end up being the victims of this crunch. Because when you're forcing so many landlords into a position where they cannot pay their mortgages and they cannot maintain their properties, and they're not able to make any other form of income because the city shut down, what's the only resource that they have left to even get any type of money, some type of a get back? It's their properties. Sure. So you're seeing a surge in people moving out of New York City, and they're migrating. They're going down south. Yeah. Like we're seeing a great migration happening now, but it's going in the other direction because it is getting too expensive to live here. But the most egregious part of all of this is that these poor people are being forced to sell their properties for basically pennies on the dollar. Yeah. Because in this market is so low right now, and people are being squeezed so hard with no way out that they have no other choice in many cases to let go of the properties, the houses that they grew up in, that they have a real attachment to, because they cannot survive here anymore. And what happens if they try to stick it out? they're going to end up losing their properties at the end of this moratorium. Remember, this foreclosure moratorium, it just puts a pause on the foreclosure, on the repossessions that are getting ready to happen. So I anticipate a huge flood of REOs over the next 2 years. A lot of poor middle class, and there's not even a middle class anymore, but a lot of poor Black and brown people are going to be basically losing their homes. Yeah, a lot of them will be selling them for nothing, but then you're going to see another large group of them losing their homes to bank repossessions. And who is going to come in and swallow up all of these properties? The people who have the resources. And who are those people? The wealthy.
Yeah, it's really the same conversation we were having about the stock market. It's just about everyday living and landlord and tenant. And so I like the fact that you bring out the point that we shouldn't jump on everything just because on the surface it seems like it is a benefit to us as Black and Latinos. They're not always, because my philosophy is as if I am a tenant and I have a Black or Latino landlord, I'm speaking strictly to our communities, and he or she cannot collect rent because there's a foreclosure or not foreclosure, eviction moratorium, I should not be like the person who worked for the NYPD. I have an obligation. My mother was like, when this first started, and she's like, that's good for the people, but if you have it, keep paying your rent.
Right.
It's that simple, because you're only pushing the ball down the court a few months. And so if you've not been paying, if you've not been saving your rent for whatever reason, you have it and you're not paying, that's not for me to understand. But if you have it, pay it, right? Because they still have families, and them a lot of times, that they're just trying to help everybody do better. And not all landlords are like how Tony described himself, but we just have an obligation to help one another. We have an obligation to help one another. So I appreciate you saying that, Tony. We're going to wrap it up. But Tony, what in terms of general financial literacy, aside from research, what could you people who have not always managed the monies that they have for reasons beyond their control often, we're not talking about when a Michael Jordan shoe comes out in April or whatever. We're not talking about these type of things. I'm talking about, what can you suggest to us to become more financially literate? Where do we start when we don't really know? One thing we do know, especially Black people who are in the church, we know how to pay our tithes. So that's that 10% principle, right? That is quite biblical. But what do you do with the remaining 90%? How much goes towards your living, your home space, your utilities, even your cell phone, the things that you need to make living convenient for you and necessity? What do you do after you've carved off that 30 to 40% or whatever that is, and now you've accounted for 40 to 50%? What do we do with the remaining 50%? What could you share to the audience?
Well, I would say one of the key elements to wealth building is discipline and patience. There are a lot of different things that we can do to ensure success or make it far more likely. And some of the things that we need to practice are, like, for one, put our money into appreciating assets, things that gain value, real estate, stock market, bonds, things like that. They appreciate in value, but far too often we take our money and we put it into things that have no intrinsic value. Something even as simple as a car. You buy a fancy car, you got some money, and you decide, what, I want to get that nice fancy car. It depreciates the moment you drive it off the lot.
Mhm.
So I'm not saying don't buy a nice car. If you can afford it, get a nice car, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I got a nice car. I did it, but I did it because I was able to do it and I wanted to do something for myself. So I understand that. But that was based on, you know, years of investment into myself, right? Into a certain level of success. And I would say don't be afraid of long-term investments. We have to abandon the whole get rich quick mindset that encompasses so many of us. You know, when you're looking at what's happening with the Wall Street bets, the YOLO movement, everyone's getting so excited and they're excited. You know, I get it. Get rich quick scheme. And I don't want to call it a scheme, but it's a get rich quick thing that's happening. And while it's very enticing, you can also lose really big. So don't be afraid of long-term investments, which requires a lot of patience. And I would also really stress to people to teach these concepts to your children. That is
Okay.
very important because that will, listen, you may not live to see, you know, a multimillionaire, but you've increased the likelihood of your child achieving that. See, we have to have some forward thinking too, like our ancestors did. The things that we do now, we set our future generation up, set them up, for their future and the future of our people. So
Right.
teach all of these concepts about financial literacy and investment to our young people. I've been participating on a few panels with Dr. Boyce Watkins lately, and it's getting
Mhm.
a little bit, it's a little fun now. I'm not really used to the whole internet live video thing, to be honest with you, but it's encouraging. And he has a black business school, but he has a thing where they have a specific program for children. I think, yeah, I think it doesn't even matter the age, but young children where you can educate them on these same concepts on wealth and investing in real estate, stock market, or just general wealth building. And I would suggest, signing your kids up, even if it's not with Boyce Watkins, with wherever you can go, just try to get your child on that path. Maybe we didn't get there, or maybe we're still on our way there,
Mhm.
but it doesn't hurt. It only helps when you have your children on that same path as well, and it increases that chance of long-term success.
Love it. Love it. I think these are all practical steps that we can all take to sort of reverse the trend that has been generationally passed down and become a little bit more proactive. And I think you hit on something that we all need to remember, that we have to be disciplined and don't be afraid of the long-term investment. That's who I am. I'm not
That's
afraid of
you.
that. It's just right there, you
Right.
know. But hopefully we'll be able to invite Tony back on in the future. Let us continue our discussion that we started in the summer with the sisters that bought the 96 acres down in Georgia, to talk about how we can actually, when you say um, long-term investments, and one being something that's appreciative like real estate and stocks, let's talk about how people can either individually or collectively begin their real estate investing journey. We can probably do that soon in April. April. I know that seems like that's so far, but maybe in April we can invite Tony back to talk about how we get started in that. What are some basic steps? He's been a landlord, a real estate owner, that has been another source of income for him and his family for over 20 years, as he just shared. So we want to tap into his years of expertise if that is something that he'd like to do.
Well, I would definitely like to do that. And I did want to say, I would love to, the next time we meet, I would love to talk more about real estate investment and how to get into that,
Yes.
because that, if anything, that's more so I would say that is probably my real area of expertise and passion,
Okay.
besides filmmaking. And the last thing I just want to say really quick that I didn't get a chance to say, I'll just glaze over it now. Your credit is very, very important. And I know a lot of old school folks, you don't like to deal with credit and credit cards, borrowing. You know, we like to use cash and stuff like that. No, 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 no. Your credit is very important in this day and age, especially, and it is a key to wealth. So your credit is very important. I mean, if you have anything on your credit, I'll probably be like starting a group that addresses credit repair, because I do credit repair as well.
Excellent.
So I just do a lot of stuff to try to help, people out.
No, we love that. In fact, you know what? One of my friends, and I haven't been seeing her too much on Tuesdays, which, if just to remind the audience, Tuesdays are our regular day for Black Talk platform. And I do have one scheduled for this coming Tuesday. What I've just done is started the brand new year out in the reverse of how I ended 2020. And so I had Minister Yoram Keith Rodriguez and Mr. Chaka Fair on the week after Tony was on in December with us, and they were talking about health and wellness. So they will be on with me on this coming Tuesday. But what I'm going to do, because my friend Leah, who has been a big supporter of this platform, she said, I'm so glad you're doing this today, because she really wanted to be here to hear your presentation, Tony. What I may do, instead of asking Tony if he'll be available in April, because this is Black History Month beginning tomorrow, if he's game, I'm happy to keep doing special editions on Sundays in addition to my Tuesdays, because those are already sort of scheduled out. And I really don't want us to wait that long. If he is available, he is Dr. Boyce Watkins, for those of you who don't know, he is a financial, I would say, an expert. I don't know if he likes the word guru, but I did post in there. I will try to go back and put his link in there, because look, we're just trying to point us all in the right direction where we can get valuable information. And so he's someone that both Tony and I respect, but Tony has a relationship with him. But I've watched him over the years. The information that he's sharing is credible. So I will put one of the links to his YouTube or something. I'll go back or if someone already has it, you can dump it in the chat, because we all help each other that way. But if Tony and I can get it together to come back on a Sunday before the month of February is out, then I'll definitely do that, if he's willing and able, and we'll get started. And then you can, if you want, and if you're ready to launch that group, you can do it right here, so that people will know how to stay in contact with you on their real estate journey, if that's okay with you, Tony.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Last question. My friend over here, your friend, my son, he wanted to know, do you have any predictions? Do you have any expectations for how well AMC may do tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, all the indicators says it's going to surge. Yeah, like all the ducks are lined up. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of crazy to me. And I think it strengthens my resolve when I see some of the tactics of Robin Hood, and there's just so many mechanisms in place right now to protect the wealthy, these short sellers. So I don't see anything happening other than AMC going to the moon.
All right. Do you think the moon might be around the $100 range?
Listen, I don't know. All I know is that GameStop, it was trading at $6 in December.
That's right.
That's right.
And it hit $450 a few days ago.
Man,
can you imagine? And I dumped all of my GameStop maybe 2 weeks before that.
And I think I told you that when it was $61, Tony, about 2 weeks ago. About 2 weeks ago, it was $61, and I said to my son, I think we should jump in on GameStop. 2 days later is when it went to $250 or something like that, and it just go. I missed the boat. So listen, we can be savvy, we can hold tight, we can be afraid, but we definitely, if we're going to do the stock market, sometimes you got to, pull the trigger, and you may lose, but that's always been with the stock market. But
don't put your life savings into it.
Make sure it's disposable income. I put a little example, the Chinese food y'all love to order, that just take that money for the month and just, start to invest. I did want to say that there was supposed to be an Occupy type of Wall Street rally today, and I'm not sure if it went forth, but it was being organized, and I know some of you are gonna cringe, but it was being organized by young Republicans. And see, here's my thing. I don't care who's organizing it. They have the right idea. They have the right idea. The fact that young Republicans are against what's going on the stock market with the Robin Hood and all, that says a lot. But these are young people. They're not, whether they're Democrat or Republican, they are not your parents' Democrats. They're not your parents' Republicans. All they could see is that this is unfair. You've told us that we can access wealth through investing, but you're telling us we can't unless we're selling, and we're not going to sell. So that was supposed to happen today. I don't know that it did, but
I
that
think
was
it did.
It did happen.
I think I did see a little piece of it. Yes.
How were there a lot of people?
From what I saw, it looked like there were a lot of people, and I was actually impressed with what I was hearing. I didn't even know that I was listening to a Republican speak.
Wow.
But they're millennials, you know, the millennials first.
Right. And really, they're taking it back, it seems, this group anyway, of young people, they're taking it back to where we just have issues around moral differences of anything. Those type of things, you can work around those type of things just in terms of respect. It's not as ideological as what has become both parties in the last few years. And so I wanted to say this one last thing, but most of you may not even care. Janet Yellen, who is now the Treasury Secretary, is that right? Not Secretary, the Fed Chair? She is the Secretary
of the Treasury, yeah.
Okay, so Tony mentioned Citadel. If you go back and watch this, he mentioned Citadel. They're sort of pulling the purse strings of Robin Hood. Well, guess who they paid $800,000 to in speaking fees? Was it last year alone or over the last couple of years? Our new Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen. So be careful when you see them saying in public, oh, we're not going to allow Robin Hood to do this. Read the small print as well, because you'll be surprised who is actually pushing that it's okay what Robin Hood has done to us, that, you know, for our own good, we're going to have them stop allowing people to buy. So you'll have to understand the language being spoken. I'm just saying, keep your eyes open. Right. Everything that glitters is not gold. We all learned that growing up. So pay attention, everybody. Listen, Tony gets the last word. Please come back to me on Tuesday. Come back here with me on Tuesday at 7 p.m. for Black Talk Platform, where we will have Minister Yoram Keith Rodriguez and social worker Chaka Fair talking about how we can stay healthy mentally and physically, and just an overall self-care. Tony, thank you so much for being here. Would you like to give us your final parting words this evening?
Well, I mean, I always love being here. I appreciate you inviting me onto the platform. I mean, I think we pretty much covered everything. I will say to all of us, everyone watching, that let's just practice a little bit of responsibility and patience when it comes to spending money, especially in this time, because we're in unsure times right now. And when it comes to building wealth, we have to also know how to save money and, just pass on information to the younger generation. We kind of got stuck thinking that we're the ones that are in charge and our opinions are the only ones that matter. But I think the younger generation, they really have a pulse on what needs to be done to fix this country and fix this world. So let's give them the credit that they deserve, because I think this younger generation is a lot, as I always say, I think they're a lot smarter than we were.
Yeah.
And I think they're a lot braver than we are.
Definitely.
So there's nothing wrong with, passing the mantle over to them and let them lead. And we can always be there to support them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tony. We're happy to have you on again soon, and hopefully we can work this Sunday thing out. God bless everyone, and thank you all for being here. I'll see you in the green room, Tony. God bless everybody.